The discovery. The space around the uncharted asteroid belt was eerily silent, a void of emptiness that made Captain Zivox's gill membranes flutter with unease. The Galactic Unity vessel Harmonious Accord drifted in the darkness, its crystalline hull refracting starlight in gentle patterns designed to announce peaceful intentions to any sentient beings they might encounter. "Verify those readings again," Zivox ordered, his four eyes blinking in rapid succession, a sign of anxiety his species rarely displayed. The captain's translucent skin pulsed with bioluminescent patterns that betrayed his concern to any crew member familiar with aquiline physiology. Science Officer Nalara glided to her station, her tentacle appendages flowing across the bio-integrated control surface with practiced precision. "Confirmation complete, Captain. The unknown vessel maintains position behind the largest asteroid body. Power signatures do not match any registered pattern in Unity records." Zivox's gill frills extended fully, extracting every molecule of oxygen from the carefully calibrated atmosphere of the bridge. After 20 cycles serving in the Galactic Unity's Exploration Division, he had developed an instinct for trouble. This situation triggered every warning sense his evolution had granted him. "Tactical analysis," he requested, turning to Security Chief Davin. The reptilian officer's scales shifted color slightly as he processed the data. "The vessel appears crude by Unity standards, Captain. Angular construction, heavy plating, minimal aesthetic consideration. Defensive capabilities are difficult to assess. The design philosophy is unlike anything in our database." "Magnify central viewer," Zivox commanded. The bridge's main display shimmered and focused on the mysterious ship. It was indeed unlike any vessel in known space, bulky and utilitarian with odd protuberances that defied obvious purpose. Where Unity ships incorporated organic elements and flowing designs that worked in harmony with cosmic forces, this vessel looked as though it had been designed to fight the universe itself. "Most peculiar," murmured Chief Xenobiologist Threll, her gaseous form swirling with excitement inside her containment suit. "Captain, the internal environmental readings, they're extraordinary." "Elaborate," Zivox prompted. "The temperature alone would boil the bodily fluids of 12 known sentient species," Threll continued, her voice modulator expressing scientific fascination. "Radiation levels exceed safety parameters by factors of 20. Atmospheric composition includes elements toxic to 90% of Unity races. Gravity settings are crushing." A hushed silence fell over the bridge crew. Every officer present understood the implications. "A Death World species," whispered Nalara, her tentacles coiling protectively around her central nerve cluster. Zivox felt his primary heart constrict painfully. In the long history of the Galactic Unity, encounters with species evolved on extreme planets, Death Worlds, had been mercifully rare and invariably complicated. Evolution on such planets took a different path, producing beings with physiologies and psychologies shaped by constant survival pressure. "Initiate standard contact protocols," Zivox decided, adhering to Unity procedures despite his misgivings. "Send greeting package on all frequencies. Maintain safe distance." The tension on the bridge was palpable as they waited. Unity protocol emphasized peaceful engagement, but stories of Death World species circulated through officer training, beings who perceived the universe differently, for whom danger was a constant companion rather than an exceptional circumstance. "Captain," Communications Specialist Pell announced, her crystalline structure vibrating with surprise, "we're receiving a response. Audio only, in perfect Unity standard." Zivox straightened his ceremonial mantle. "Connect." The voice that filled the bridge was casual, almost indifferent. "Unity vessel, this is Engineering Specialist Devin Rodriguez of Independent Mining Ship Relentless. You folks lost or something? You've been scanning us for the past 15 minutes. The informal address left the bridge crew momentarily stunned. Zivox recovered quickly, his diplomatic training taking over. "This is Captain Zivox of the Galactic Unity vessel Harmonious Accord. We detected your ship and initiated standard greeting protocols as per first contact regulations." A rough sound came through the speakers, what the translator identified as laughter. "Oh, that string of mathematical sequences and light patterns. Our systems filtered it out as background radiation. Force of habit from working near neutron stars." "Background radiation?" Nalara whispered in disbelief. "Our greeting package contains energy patterns specifically designed to be recognized by any advanced civilization." "You identify as human?" Zivox inquired cautiously. "Last I checked, the voice replied with evident amusement. Look, we're just finishing up a mineral extraction operation on this asteroid. If you're not here to dispute salvage rights, we're good, right? Zivox glanced at Threll, who had moved closer to his command platform. Captain, the xenobiologist whispered, there is no record of humans in the Unity database. This appears to be an authentic first contact scenario. Zivox nodded solemnly. Engineering Specialist Rodriguez, we would request permission to send a diplomatic party to your vessel to establish formal relations as per Unity protocol. There was a brief pause before the human responded, sure. Though I should probably warn you, we're running Earth-normal conditions in here. Might be uncomfortable for you folks. Earth-normal, Zivox repeated, filing away the designation of their likely homeworld. We will bring appropriate environmental protection. Prepare to receive our shuttle in one standard time unit. The boarding party consisted of Captain Zivox, xenobiologist Threll, and Security Chief Davin, all equipped with the most advanced environmental suits the Harmonious Accord could provide. As they approached in the shuttle, they got their first close view of the human vessel. It was even more primitive looking up close, covered in patch repairs, with visible welding seams and what appeared to be manual maintenance work. Their technology seems rudimentary, observed Davin, his clawed hand resting near his weapon. Yet they've achieved interstellar travel and can communicate in Unity Standard, countered Zivox. Never underestimate an unknown species. The shuttle docked with an unceremonious clunk against the human ship's airlock. After cycling through the Accord's decontamination protocols, the inner door opened. The first sensation that hit them was the gravity, crushing and immediate. Zivox felt his lightweight skeletal structure strain against the force despite his suit's compensators. Next came the heat, uncomfortably intense even through their advanced protection. And there, standing casually in the airlock without any environmental gear whatsoever, was a human. Zivox's initial impression was one of surprising vulnerability. The creature was bipedal with no apparent defensive adaptations, no protective exoskeleton, no visible natural weapons, minimal sensory organs. It had patches of keratin fibers on its head, but otherwise seemed terribly exposed to the elements. How could such a seemingly fragile being survive in conditions that the suit's sensors were flagging as immediately lethal? Welcome aboard, said the human, extending one of its upper limbs. I'm Devin. Sorry about the mess, wasn't expecting visitors. Zivox stared at the offered appendage, uncertain of the protocol. Devin lowered his hand. Right, different customs. Come on in, I've cleared some space in the common area. He turned and walked away, clearly expecting them to follow. The Unity team moved awkwardly in the heavy gravity, their suits whirring with the effort of keeping them mobile. The interior of the ship was shocking. Tools floated in secured nets, panels were open exposing circuitry, and containers of what Threll's scanner identified as highly corrosive chemicals sat casually on workbenches. The air, which Devin breathed freely, would have dissolved Zivox's respiratory membranes in seconds. They reached a small room with mismatched furniture. Devin gestured toward some reinforced chairs. Have a seat if you'd like. Can I get you anything? Coffee. Water. He paused. Though I guess you're good in those suits, huh? Thank you, but we are adequately prepared, Zivox replied formally. Engineering Specialist Rodriguez, may I inquire how long humans have been traveling in this sector? Devin shrugged, a rolling motion of his upper body. Me personally. About 4 years. Humanity in general. We've been poking around the stars for maybe 70 years now. Threll's gaseous form swirled in surprise within her containment suit. 70 years without contacting the Unity. Devin smiled. No offense, but your Unity seems like a lot of paperwork and regulations. We humans tend to prefer doing our own thing. And what thing is that? Asked Davin, his security training evident in his posture. Whatever needs doing, Devin replied simply. Mining, exploration, science. This particular rock has some rare elements we use for drive components. Zivox noticed something odd about the room. On the wall hung what appeared to be images of landscapes, but landscapes no sane being would consider hospitable. Boiling seas of lava, ice plains whipped by toxic storms, jagged mountains under radiation-blasted skies. Are these artistic interpretations? Zivox asked, pointing to the images. Devin glanced at them. Nah, just some vacation photos. That's Yellowstone, that's Antarctica during a nice winter day, and that's just outside Phoenix during summer. He smiled with apparent fond memories. Nothing like hiking through Death Valley to clear your head, you know. The Unity team exchanged glances through their faceplates. These vacation destinations would kill most known sentient beings within minutes. And suddenly, Zivox understood why the humans showed no fear, no concern about their presence. To a species that evolved on a death world, very little in the galaxy would seem truly threatening. The implications were both fascinating and terrifying. High Counselor Vex paced the length of the Unity assembly chamber, her slender form casting dramatic shadows across the polished floor. The emergency session had been called within hours of receiving Captain Zivox's report, and now all 15 members of the High Council sat in uncomfortable silence. "Play the recording again," she ordered, her voice taut with tension. The holographic display in the center of the circular chamber flickered to life. Captain Zivox's image appeared, his skin pulsing with stress patterns even through the environmental suit. "High Council, my team has confirmed our initial findings," Zivox's recorded voice reported. "The humans originate from a planet they call Earth, a world with conditions that would be lethal to 97% of Unity species. Gravity at 9.8 units, oxygen levels that would cause toxic reactions in most respiratory systems, radiation from their sun that would damage genetic material of unprotected beings, and temperature variations of over 150 standard units across their planet's surface." The council members shifted uneasily. "Most concerning," Zivox continued, "is the casual manner in which these humans approach what we would consider extreme danger. During our visit to their ship, engineering specialist Rodriguez handled, bare-handed, what our sensors identified as acids strong enough to dissolve metal. When asked about it, he simply showed us what he called minor chemical burns on his outer tissue, injuries that would be life-threatening to most Unity species." High Counselor Vex paused the recording. "This cannot be overstated, Council members. We are potentially dealing with a death world species that has been traveling our space undetected for decades." Counselor Drath, whose crystalline body sparkled under the chamber lights, spoke first. "How is this possible? Our survey ships would have located their homeworld." "According to the humans," Vex replied, "Earth was charted by our ancestors over 6 centuries ago and classified as uninhabitable. No follow-up surveys were ever conducted because the initial readings suggested no chance of intelligent life evolving there." A murmur ran through the chamber. The oldest council member, Elder Mach, leaned forward on his gravity platform, his species ancient with memories spanning millennia. "I recall the designation," Mach said slowly. "System TR 1482. The survey team reported extreme conditions, crushing gravity, violent weather patterns, unstable tectonics, aggressive ecosystem, and high background radiation. They recommended permanent quarantine." "Which was clearly ineffective," noted Counselor Dren, tapping her appendages nervously. Vex nodded grimly. "The humans have not only survived their world, they've mastered space travel with what appears to be relatively primitive technology. The implications are concerning." The chamber fell silent as the council members contemplated what this meant. Most intelligent species in the Unity had evolved on gentle worlds, stable environments that allowed for the development of philosophy, art, and cooperation without the constant pressure of survival. The few Death World species they had encountered were primitive, aggressive, and usually self-destructed before achieving space travel. But humans had done the impossible. And they had been traversing Unity space, unnoticed, for years. "We must establish formal diplomatic contact immediately," said Counselor Drath, "before they perceive our lack of awareness as weakness." Vex nodded. "I've already selected Ambassador Tholen for this mission. His species is among our most adaptable, and he has experience with unusual first contact scenarios." "Diplomatic measures are prudent," agreed Elder Mach, "but we must also prepare for less favorable outcomes. A species forged in such harsh conditions may not share our commitment to peaceful coexistence." Vex hesitated before responding. "I have discreetly instructed Defense Commander Lixon to develop containment protocols, just as a precaution." Several council members looked uncomfortable with this approach, but none objected outright. "How many of these humans are there?" asked Counselor Dren. Vex's expression grew even more serious. "According to what engineering specialist Rodriguez told Captain Zivox, billions." The word hung heavy in the air. Most Unity member species numbered in the millions at most, their populations carefully balanced with their environments. Billions of Death World survivors was almost unthinkable. This meeting is now classified at the highest security level, Vex announced. We must proceed carefully. If humans truly are as resilient as they appear, they could pose an unprecedented challenge to Unity security, or become our most valuable allies. The High Council had never faced such a dilemma in its long history. The discovery of humans had changed everything, and the decisions they made now would shape the future of galactic civilization for centuries to come. Welcome to Earth. Ambassador Tholen stood at the viewing port of the Unity diplomatic vessel Enlightened Discourse, watching as the massive human warship grew larger against the backdrop of stars. The Intrepid, as the humans called it, lacked the elegant bio-integrated design of Unity vessels. Instead, it was all harsh angles and practical functionality, a brutal testament to the species that built it. Quite intimidating, isn't it? Said Defense Commander Lixon, coming to stand beside him. Her armored exoskeleton clicked softly as she moved. Different, Tholen corrected diplomatically. His gelatinous form rippled with carefully controlled anxiety. Their aesthetic values likely evolved from different priorities than ours. Xenobiologist Vril floated up behind them, her gas-filled body glowing with nervous energy. I still can't believe we're actually going to their homeworld. The data we'll collect will revolutionize our understanding of evolutionary biology. The Unity delegation consisted of 12 members, Ambassador Tholen as leader, Commander Lixon with 4 security officers, xenobiologist Vril with 2 research assistants, and 3 communications specialists. All wore the most advanced environmental protection suits ever designed, capable of withstanding conditions far beyond what any normal mission would require. Remember the briefing, Tholen said quietly. Show no fear, no matter what you witness. These humans must not perceive weakness. The shuttle docked with a precise mechanical thud against the human ship. After a series of metallic sounds, the airlock door slid open to reveal a tall human female in a crisp gray uniform adorned with geometric symbols. Welcome aboard the Intrepid, the human said with a slight bow. I'm Captain Olivia Nakamura, Earth Defense Force. We're honored to host the first official Unity delegation to human space. Tholen extended 4 of his upper appendages in the formal greeting of the Unity. The honor is ours, Captain. I am Ambassador Tholen, and these are my colleagues. After introductions, Captain Nakamura led them through corridors that seemed unnecessarily spacious by Unity standards. The ceilings were high, the walkways wide, a puzzling waste of valuable space in a vessel designed for interstellar travel. We've prepared special quarters for your comfort, Captain Nakamura explained. The environmental controls have been adjusted to match Unity standard conditions. That's remarkably considerate, Tholen replied, noting the thoroughness of their preparations. Most emerging species wouldn't have considered such accommodations. It's no trouble, the captain said with a smile. Though I should mention that the rest of the ship maintains Earth-normal conditions. If you wish to explore beyond your quarters, your environmental suits will be necessary. As they passed a large viewport, Commander Lixon suddenly halted. Outside, a team of humans was working on the ship's exterior, wearing only thin suits that barely registered as protective. One worker actually had his helmet off, holding it under one arm while using a plasma torch with the other hand. He was exposed to the vacuum of space with nothing covering his head, yet seemed perfectly comfortable. Is that worker in danger? Lixon asked, failing to hide her alarm. Captain Nakamura glanced outside. Oh, that's Lieutenant Park testing our new emergency repair system. It generates a localized atmospheric field that holds in breathable air. 20-minute oxygen supply, but that's enough for urgent repairs. He's breathing in space, xenobiologist Vril whispered, her gaseous form swirling rapidly with excitement. Only for short periods, Nakamura clarified, as if that somehow made the feat less extraordinary. We're still working out issues with radiation protection, so we don't recommend extended exposures. The Unity team exchanged glances through their helmet visors. What the humans considered a technical limitation would be a revolutionary advancement for most species. The journey to Earth took 3 standard days. On the second day, Tholen requested a tour of the ship's facilities. Captain Nakamura agreed readily, assigning her first officer, Commander Jimenez, as their guide. This is our recreation level, Commander Jimenez explained as they entered a large open area. Various humans were engaged in different activities, some lifting weights that would crush most Unity species' skeletal structures, others sparring in designated circles, and a few swimming in a pool of clear liquid. Is that water? Asked Vril, floating closer to the pool. Yes, pure H2O, Jimenez confirmed. Is something wrong? Vril's body pulsed with concern. Water is highly corrosive to most carbon-based life. How can they immerse themselves in it? Commander Jimenez laughed. Our bodies are mostly water. It's essential for our survival. The revelation sent ripples of discomfort through the Unity team, a species that not only tolerated exposure to a universal solvent but was actually composed of it. The implications were disturbing. As they continued the tour, they passed what Jimenez called the emergency simulation chamber. Inside, humans in minimal protective gear moved through corridors filled with actual fire, toxic gas, and what appeared to be harmful radiation. This is a drill for hull breach scenarios, Jimenez explained casually. We run these exercises daily. These conditions would kill most species instantly, Commander Lixon observed, unable to hide her military assessment. That's kind of the point of training, Jimenez replied with a shrug. If it can't kill you, you're not learning anything useful. The commander's words hung in the air, a chilling reminder of how differently humans viewed danger. On the third day, disaster struck. The ship encountered a stellar anomaly, a massive wave of radiation and charged particles that hit without warning. Alarms blared throughout the vessel, and the Unity delegates were quickly ushered to a secure room. Will the ship's shields hold? Tholen asked anxiously as they huddled in the protected chamber. Before anyone could answer, the ship's lighting flickered, then stabilized. The translator in Tholen's suit struggled to keep up with the rapid communications between crew members outside. Shield Generator 2 is offline, came a human voice over the intercom. Engineering teams to Deck 5. Radiation levels rising in Sectors 7 through 9. Commander Lixon activated her suit sensors. The radiation out there is at least 70 times what most Unity species could survive, even with protection. Minutes later, the door opened and a human crew member entered without any environmental gear. His skin showed signs of reddening, like a mild burn. Captain sends her apologies for the inconvenience, the human said casually. We've had to reroute power from your environmental controls to strengthen the remaining shields. It might get a bit warm in here for the next few hours. A bit warm turned out to be an increase of nearly 15 degrees, well within the range of their suit's capabilities, but shocking that the humans would consider such a drastic change minor. Are the repair teams safe? Asked Vril. The radiation levels we're detecting. Oh, they'll be fine, the crew member interrupted. Might need some medical treatment for radiation exposure afterward, but nothing serious. This isn't even close to our safety limits. After the human left, Tholen turned to his colleagues. This is what High Counselor Vex feared. What appears life-threatening to us is merely an inconvenience to them. By the time they reached Earth orbit on the fourth day, the Unity team had witnessed dozens more examples of human resilience. They had seen crew members handle materials barehanded that would burn through Unity protective gear. They had observed humans consuming foods containing compounds toxic to most other species. They had even watched a training exercise where humans deliberately exposed themselves to vacuum conditions to practice emergency protocols. But nothing prepared them for their first view of Earth itself. The planet hung in space, a blue-white sphere mottled with swirling storm systems and vibrant continents. Where most life-bearing worlds known to the Unity were placid and stable, Earth was visibly dynamic, weather patterns shifting even as they watched, oceans churning with massive currents, entire regions glowing with electrical storms. Home sweet home, Captain Nakamura said proudly as the delegates stared in stunned silence. We'll be landing at the International Pacific Spaceport. The weather is particularly mild there this time of year, should be comfortable even in your suits. What do you consider mild, Captain? Tholen asked carefully. Oh, just light rain, temperatures around 18 degrees Celsius, normal gravity of course. Nothing extreme. Vril's sensors were already going wild with readings. Captain, those conditions would be considered survival-level emergency situations on most Unity worlds. Captain Nakamura looked genuinely surprised. Really? But that's practically pleasant weather. She paused, seeming to reconsider. Perhaps we should arrange a more controlled environment for your first visit to the surface. We have biodomes that can be adjusted to your needs. That would be appreciated, Tholen said quickly before any of his team could object. He needed to observe these humans in their natural habitat, but he also needed his team alive to report what they found. As the ship began its descent through Earth's turbulent atmosphere, Tholen couldn't help but wonder if the Unity had made a terrible mistake in not discovering humans sooner. What other surprises might this Death World species have in store? The Unity shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere with a constant vibration that set the delegates' nerves on edge. Outside the reinforced windows, lightning flashed through angry clouds, and rain lashed against the hull with surprising force. "Just a small weather front," the human pilot said cheerfully. "Nothing to worry about." Tholen exchanged glances with Commander Lixon. What humans considered small had already registered as catastrophic on their environmental sensors. The shuttle broke through the cloud layer, revealing the landscape below. The International Pacific Spaceport was built on a flat plain surrounded by towering mountains. Rivers cut through the terrain, and dense forests of tall green plants covered much of the land. To human eyes, it might have appeared peaceful. To the Unity delegates, it was a scene of barely contained chaos. "Atmospheric analysis complete," Vril reported, her gaseous form swirling nervously in her containment suit. "Oxygen levels at 21%, toxic to 7 known Unity species. Nitrogen at 78%, harmful to 5 species. Various contaminants including water vapor at levels that would cause respiratory failure in most beings. And this is what they breathe naturally," Commander Lixon noted, her military mind already calculating the implications. Their shuttle landed on a designated pad where a human delegation waited under the open sky. The humans were no protection against the rain that fell steadily around them, only simple cloth coverings that were becoming visibly wet. "They're allowing the water to touch their skin," one of the science team whispered in horror. Captain Nakamura, who had traveled down ahead of them, stepped forward as the shuttle door opened. "Welcome to Earth. I hope your journey was comfortable." "Quite educational," Ambassador Tholen replied carefully. The Unity team hesitated at the shuttle doorway, their sensors showing conditions outside that would require the highest level of their environmental protection. Cautiously they activated their suit's force field enhancements and stepped onto Earth's surface. Even through technology designed to mitigate alien environments, they could feel the crushing pull of Earth's gravity. It was significantly stronger than anything they had evolved to withstand, making each step an effort. "We've prepared the Environmental Adaptation Center for your comfort," said a human who introduced herself as Director Hernandez. "From there, you'll be able to observe Earth conditions safely while we discuss cultural exchange." The center turned out to be a massive complex of interconnected domes, each simulating different planetary environments. One had been specially configured to match Unity standard conditions: low gravity, stable temperature, and neutral atmospheric composition. "This will serve as your base during your stay," Director Hernandez explained as they entered the Unity-compatible dome. "But we hoped you might be interested in observing some aspects of human life through safe viewing areas." "Of course," Tholen agreed. "Cultural understanding is the primary purpose of our visit."